Hey, what's up guys, it's Bakes and I'm back again with another one of my random horror reviews. Today's movie is probably one of my most watched movies in my whole collection. In a way, it's kind of a comfort movie. It's one that I know pretty well back to front. It's an anthology, so some of the stories fly by pretty quick. And for the most part, it's pretty entertaining. So today's movie is VHS 2 from the year 2013, I believe. Yeah, as I said, this in a way is a comfort movie. I've seen it a lot of times, even though as of recent time I haven't watched it in a while, if that makes sense. So as I said, this is an anthology movie, but what separates the VHS franchise from other anthology movies is that all the stories are also found footage. So it adds a little bit more character to this anthology franchise, but before we get into my thoughts of VHS 2, we'll quickly run through the plot, which for an anthology film it's kind of hard to do. The wraparound for this one is these two, I guess they're private investigators, break into this house trying to find a kid, and instead they find all these tapes. The tapes are, the first one is a guy gets a camera put in his eyeball and now he's able to see ghosts. The second one is a point of view of a zombie apocalypse. The third one is a story that takes place in a cult, and the fourth one is about an alien abduction during a slumber party sleepover sort of thing. So I'm going to leave it there. Those are the four stories, and let's get into my thoughts of VHS 2 now. So now that we're moving on to my thoughts of this movie as a whole, I feel like the best way to do it is go through each individual story as they come up in the movie. The only one that I'm not going to really go into is the wraparound. One, because it's just a wraparound, it's just there to connect all four stories together. And two, it is not that interesting at all. It is kind of hard to pull off a really good wraparound just because it is in between all of these stories and you only have so much amount of time to fill in a story in between, so I understand it's a bit hard to do a wraparound, but unfortunately, as I said, it's not great in this one. But starting off with the first story, which, as I said, is the guy who gets the camera put in his eyeball and now he's able to see ghosts. This one is quite underwhelming, unfortunately. It sucks because it's the first story that kicks off the four that make up this movie. And as I said, it's just a little bit underwhelming. Besides the gimmick that the camera is in his eyeball, there's nothing really interesting going on. There's a couple of okay jump scares, but the story I don't really care about. The whole seeing ghosts thing, I mean, it's been done before. As I said, it's just got the gimmick that the camera is in his eyeball, which the effects of the camera being in there is pretty cool. But otherwise, it's a pretty lackluster story, and I don't really care for it. The second one is the zombie outbreak point of view story, which is a guy who is mountain biking through this trail, and he gets bitten by a zombie. He's got a GoPro on his head, and as he turns into a zombie, we are now seeing it from his point of view, and he's wreaking havoc on other people on the trail, and he eventually goes through this birthday party. Again, this one is a little bit underwhelming, but what saves this one and makes it better than the first one is the fact that, one, the gore is really fucking good. They do not hold back. Plenty of guts, blood, organs being pulled out. It's really fucking good. And the idea that it's from a zombie's point of view. You know, you rarely see these outbreaks from the zombies', eyes. And I guess that sense of uniqueness gives it something else, but again, unfortunately, this one's maybe not the greatest, but it is a little bit more fun, and as I said, the gore really helps it as well. So as I've mentioned, the first two stories are unfortunately quite underwhelming and a little bit lackluster, but coming off the back of that are the two closing stories, which are arguably two of the strongest in the whole VHS franchise, let alone this movie. So going into the third story, we have this group of reporters who are doing this interview with this man who is running this sanctuary. It's clearly a cult. It takes place in some Asian country. I don't want to get it wrong. You do have to read subtitles for this story, but it doesn't take you out of it in any way. This one has always been a top favorite of mine in the VHS franchise, but I'm gonna have to say that this is now my favorite story, at least in VHS 2. It's always been really creepy and really unsettling. I just really like the way that this story evolves. It starts off with this one-on-one interview. They then get let into the compound and they get to see what's going on. and there's clearly shady shit going on, you know, it's really unsettling, but it just takes it to another level, and then another level, and then another level, and there's so much blood and creepiness going on, and then by the end, it's just total chaos and batshit insane. As I said, it's probably now my favorite in this whole movie. My old favorite used to be the fourth one, which we'll get into soon, but this one's just totally insane, and I just love how chaotic and crazy it is. But moving on to the last story now, which is about this group of kids who are having this sleepover, and then some aliens show up and try to abduct them. This one, the alien one, is probably the biggest fan favorite story in the whole VHS franchise. So much so, I believe that they have meant to have made it into a full-length movie, which I believe was meant to come out this year. But I haven't heard anything else on it besides that. Hopefully it does, because out of all of them, this one deserves to be a full-length movie, because it's the most fun. As I said, it used to be my favorite. It's probably my second favorite now, besides the one I just mentioned before. It used to scare me a lot because, you know, I'm pretty young. I've had my fair share of sleepovers, and I can really put myself in the character's shoes. It's really unsettling. The aliens are super creepy. The one problem that I have with this story now is that it's almost overstimulating. There's like flashing lights, the camera's shaking way too much. Like, it almost makes me dizzy and sick. It's like giving me a headache watching it. As I said, I just feel like all my senses are being stimulated way too much, and it sort of throws me off a little bit. As I said, the story's a lot of fun. It's really creative. I really like the design of the aliens. It's really unsettling. But as I said, I feel like the third story has just taken the cake for my number one spot. But as I said, the first two stories are a little bit underwhelming. They're not unwatchable by all means, but the second two really clean up the act for this movie. So there we go, guys. After breaking down all four stories, as I said, the first two are a little bit underwhelming. The second two I really, really enjoy. So it is sort of weighing 50-50 on the scales of keeping a balance of ones that I don't really care for and ones that I really, really like. I remembered liking the first two stories a lot more than what I did this time. As I said, I've seen this movie a lot of times, just not as of recent. So it was a little bit disappointing that I didn't like the first two stories as much. As I said, the first one, it's just purely the gimmick of the camera being in his eyeball. Otherwise, couldn't really care less. As I said, the second one's a lot more interesting, at least, you know, having the point of view be the zombie, and then the effects also really help it out. But by all means, you could almost just check out this movie for the last two stories, the one with the cult and the aliens. They're just really fucking good stories and well worth it. So going back to watch VHS 2, I'm really not sure if it was disappointing or just sort of how I remembered it. I'm not sure where I want to rate this one. I think I'm going to give it a generous 7.5. I was thinking a 7, but I'm going to go with a 7.5. As I said, the last two stories are just that fucking good. I think at least it deserves a 7.5. So if you've seen this one, let me know your thoughts on it, but I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you for joining me for this review. I'm actually so happy I went to revisit VHS 2, because I was sort of in the mood to watch one of the VHS movies again. I've only ever seen VHS 1, 2, and Viral. I don't have Shudder, so I can't watch VHS 99 or 94. Though 99 comes out on DVD next month, so I'm going to be picking that up when it comes out, hopefully. And then I can get a fix of some new VHS content. But either way, guys, if you've seen this movie, let me know your thoughts of it in the comments below. Let me know your favourite story. As I said, my favourite is the third one, the cult story, but I'm sure everyone has their personal favourites. Even if it's not one from this movie, just let me know your favourite story in the whole VHS franchise. And I'll see you for another video soon, guys. Peace.